Good morning, guys. Today I will show you a simple presentation about food chains and food webs. A food chain. It shows how each organism gets its food, and it describes how energy and nutrients flow from one organism to the next in an ecosystem. The producers. Plants are able to make own food through photosynthesis. Plants are called producers, and they have the greatest energy in a food chain. The second group of a food chain are the consumers. They are organisms that eat or consume food. And in a food chain, plants are eaten by the first level of consumers, the primary consumers. The primary consumers are mostly herbivores, and they eat only plants. The secondary consumers eat herbivores, and the tertiary consumers eat other animals. Animals that eat other animals are called carnivores. Some animals feed on both plants and animals called omnivores. So first, the herbivores are the first group of consumers. The carnivores are the second group of consumers, and the omnivores are the third group of consumers. The third group of a food chain is the scavengers. They are consumers that eat dead organisms or leftover food of other animals. They keep an ecosystem free of dead plants and animals. The energy decreases as it is passed on to one organism to another. Hence, the last consumer in the food chain will get the least energy. And the fourth group of a food chain are the decomposers. These are organisms that feed on dead plants and animals and return them to soil such as bacteria, fungi, and worms. Worms eat dead leaves and grass, and their waste makes the soil healthy. Next, we are going to talk about a food web. A food web is a food chain interconnected into other food chains. Animals are part of more than one food chain and feed on more than one kind of food. Shows how different food chains interact and overlap with other food chains. This is an example of a food web. First, the seagrass gets eaten by the snail, then it gets eaten by a frog, then the frog gets eaten by an eagle. Then the seagrass gets eaten by the mussel, and then the mussel gets eaten by the crab gets eaten by the otter, and then the otter gets eaten by the eagle. And the seagrass gets eaten by the fish, and then it gets eaten by an otter, and then the otter gets eaten by an eagle, or the seagrass gets eaten by a fish, and the fish gets eaten by a heron. Every organism in a food chain and a food web is important, and the lack or the abundance of organisms may affect the ecosystem. The differences of these two are a food chain shows how each organism gets its food, while a food web shows how different food chains interact with each other. Thank you for listening.